Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I am your host, Rajni Bharara, and let me read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. All right, after this very important disclaimer, welcome back once again to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I am Rajni Bharara, your host, and today's episode is again a very special episode. Yes, I'm thrilled to have you join us for a very special session. It is Ask Me Anything session on H1B and H1B cap insights with our immigration attorney. This is your chance to ask anything that you want related to the H1B visa process and the annual H1B cap. Whether you are navigating the employment sponsorship, understanding eligibility criteria, or seeking updates on recent policy changes, this episode is tailored to address all those inquiries of yours. So, now, without any further ado, let me quickly welcome our guest for today's show. She is none other than Sonal Sharma, immigration attorney Sonal Sharma. So, thank you, Sonal, once again for joining us. And it's always good to have you. And I'm sure because, in our previous episode, we used to get a lot of questions from our viewers. So, we thought of having an Ask Me Anything session this time. So I'm sure it's going to give our audiences a good opportunity to ask their question related to H1B and H1B cap. What do you think?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me and happy to answer all the
Thank you so
questions.
much, Sonal. It's always good to have you and looking forward to this episode. And lovely viewers, I would like to tell you that we are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also on Twitter. And the handle is Immigration Talk Show. So don't forget to subscribe to us. And if you have any question, keep commenting them, keep posting them, and we will be taking your question and we'll be asking them from our lovely guest, Sonal. So anything that you want to know about H1B or H1B cap, please drop them in the comments. And now, Sonal, before I take any question, let me quickly start with my first question. Okay, so the first viewer, I would like to be
Sure.
your first viewer. I'm also hosting, but I'm also the viewer. So let me just ask
Sure.
the first question. So,
Sure.
we always discuss about H1B and H1B cap and size. Whenever we talk about it, we always start with a positive note. So right today, let me start with a
Mhm.
misconception note. So what do you think? What are some common
Mhm.
misconceptions about the H1B visa process, and how can applicants effectively address them to improve their application outcomes?
Well, it's an eligibility-based application. The regulations are very clear what the eligibility criteria is. If you prove that you fall under those criteria, then the application should be approved. Now, there can be practical challenges and processing challenging. Those are separate. But as far as eligibility is concerned, so basic eligibility for an H-1B is that you need to have a bachelor's degree in the area, related area to your job. So if you are a software developer, they expect you to have a degree in related
Right.
field to your job. Software development, it could be computer science, it could be information technology, it could be information systems, even electronics engineering and electrical engineering could qualify, but it all depends on whether you qualify for the position. The main crux of H-1B petition is whether it is a specialty occupation or not, and specialty occupation basically requires you to be eligible for the job based on of that is degree. Second is that if the employer has whatever the requirement for position are, that's the normal requirements for the employer to hire people. Now, some employers might only hire people with master's degree in that particular field, but if they can show that that's their requirement, then even though it is higher than what OOH says that the entry requirement to the occupation is, it could still qualify if the industry standard is in H1 in bachelor's degree. So across the board, if you look at not always, but most of the time, typically, if the entry requirement to the occupation is bachelor's degree, then that position can also qualify for H1B. And lastly is if the job duties are so unique and complex that it requires somebody to have a bachelor's degree at least to be employed in that position. So major issue is whether you qualify for the position based on the eligibility criteria. But if you do, then carefully it has to be crafted that your job duties falls under the appropriate SOC code, and then it should be okay for you to get an approval.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for answering the question, Sonal. And now let's quickly move to our viewers' question because I've
Mhm.
already started receiving a lot of questions from the viewers.
Sure.
So let me take Nehal's question. So Nehal is here, and she has
Mhm.
posted her question on LinkedIn, and she says, "I have done an MBA from USA. I'm currently working on F-1 OPT. I only have one chance at the H-1B lottery next year. What options do I have apart from this? What do you have to say?"
It depends what your goals are and what you want to do. There could be an option for O1 if you do not get selected in an H1B. It all depends whether you qualify for O1 or not. If you're from India, then the options are limited. But immediate non-immigrant visa after OPT, the options are very limited. You can either do an H1B, you can either do O1, or the other option is H1B at a cap-exempt employer or institution. With a background in MBA, that might not be possible, but you still can look into it. There's another option which is called, I don't know if the viewers know, but there is Build Fellowship, Open Avenues. If you qualify for the program, you will work for a cap exempt employer for 5 to 10 hours a week, but that gives you a chance for the cap subject employer to file a concurrent H1B for you. That might be an option. Or the other option is go for higher studies and maintain your F status. Maybe you want to do another master's in some other field. See, day one CPT is an option, but there are other more requirements for you to qualify for that. But there are options. It's just that what fits best for you. Maybe you have to do some research about your background and your career goals, and then decide, consult with an immigration attorney, and see what works best for you.
Right, right. And Nehal, why any immigration attorney? You can connect with Sonal herself. Her details are scrolling below. You can give her a call. You can write to her. You can write her an email. You can also visit her website to connect with her. So, yeah, if you are looking to connect with an immigration attorney, just directly connect with Sonal. And if you have any more questions, please let us know. And also let us know where you're watching this live session from. And I hope Sonal's answer helped you. And please let us know if you have any more questions, any follow-up. Okay, so let's quickly take, after Neha, let's take Sagar's question. So Sagar is also here and he has posted it on YouTube, and he says, "Hi, I got picked up in H-1B lottery. I am on B2 status. I-94 valid till end. I want to apply for a change of status. How can I do that? Will my change of status application allow me to remain in the US?" What do you have to say, Sonal?
Yes, you can apply if the employer is filing an H-1B petition for you to change status to H-1B. Then yes, you can apply for change of status, but then there is going to be a gap from July to September, because the earliest H-1B is going to be effective is October 1. You might want to file a B2 extension in that case just to cover your gap, but that might become come with some complications depending on when the application is going to get approved. B2 might be pending while your application for H1 gets approved. And then if B2 gets approved later, that kind of creates a complex situation with last action rule. So you might want to discuss a strategy with an immigration attorney, because every case is fact specific and they might be able to help you better in aligning all the timelines. But yes, change of status is definitely possible, but timelines might play a role, and that should be taken up with attorney, with your employer. If they are filing for your H1B petition, they should have a lawyer, and they will guide you through the process, what you're required to do to maintain status.
Okay, okay, Sagar, I hope that helps. And he also has a part two. So let me quickly take that as well. He says, my spouse is changing to F1 visa from B2. Stay in I-94 is July end. Can she stay in the US if she apply change of status to F1 before I-94 expiry? Will receipt work to stay in US till decision?
Yes, that is okay because recently I think there was a memo where USCIS has confirmed that you don't need to file the bridge application in this case, but it also will depend on when the start date of the F1 course is, because it cannot be more than 30 days before and you have to maintain status. Again, you have to work with the DSO to make sure that the timeline aligns, but this is possible and can be done again. Timelines preferably, go work with the DSO and the attorney to see when your status is expiring and when your course is starting. That is very important because they cannot give you change of status more than 30 days in advance of your uh, school starts. But recently, they had clarified that they will, as long as you will not violate terms of your F1 status. So work very carefully in this scenario. There might be an option of enrolling in a summer course, which will give you an earlier date of start, and that might help in your situation. But again, very fact specific. You need to work with an attorney to make sure that the timelines are all lined up. But it is possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Saga, for your question. I hope you have got the answer. Trisha Patil is also here, and Trisha says, Sagar, if you have another follow up, please let us know. And meanwhile, let's take Trisha's question. And she says, can my spouse and children accompany me on an H-1B cap exempt visa? What visas will they need?
H4. Yes, they can, and they need H4.
Right, as simple as that. They will need H4,
Mhm.
Trisha. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, so Nehal is actually back. So before I take Shinu's question, I would like to take Nehal. So Nehal is back and she says, um, will there be, Nehal Gupta, will there be any repercussions if I do another master's at a Day-1 CPT university?
I'm not sure what you mean by replications. Well, it's a legit program. Regulations allow it as long as you are doing what you're supposed to do. So if you're an F1 status and doing a degree with Day-1 CPT, so Day-1 CPT is just a term that is used. Basically, these are the courses which the practical training is an integral part of the course. You get a credit for it. So as long as you are maintaining your status by attending classes, not doing it online because online classes are not allowed. Only one 3 credit course is allowed online. If you're doing that, that's fine. But other than that, you're supposed to be physically attending classes, paying tuition fee, clearing the exams and passing these subjects. Um, and working and you get that credit for your internship, then it's a legit program. Now, does USCIS frown upon it? Yes, it does, because they don't want people to use it as a means to just stay in the US and work and bypass H-1B. As long as you're able to show that you're doing everything by the regulations, you're maintaining your status and you're working in a field which is related to the major of your study of the degree that you're currently doing, it is legit. And is there an RFE when you get an H-1B? Yes, there is. But have I seen denials? Not really. Most of the cases do get approved as long as you show them the documentation that you have been maintaining your F1 status.
Okay, okay. And she also has another follow up and she says, will my Day-1 CPT degree affect my spouse's ongoing green card process? Thanks. What do you
It
have to
should
say?
not. It has nothing to do with your spouse's green card. Those are two separate things.
Okay, so it should not. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nehal, for your question. Let us know if you have any more questions that you would like to know from Sonal. And thank you so much for watching the show. And let us know where you're watching this session from. And meanwhile, let's take Kuldeep's question, maybe. So Kuldeep
Mhm.
says, I'm currently on cap exempt H-1B, and my wife is on H-4 visa. Another company's filing a new H-1B concurrent cap subject petition for me. Do they need to file I-539 for my wife as well? What do you have to say, Sonal?
No, no,
No?
they don't. She's already on H4 visa. She doesn't need second H1B visa. She's already on H4. So she doesn't
Okay.
need. They don't need to file it. He can have multiple concurrent H1B petitions. That's a work authorization for him because he needs work authorization if he wants to work with two employers. H4 visa is a dependent visa. He's on H1, she has H4. Just because he has multiple employers, she does not need multiple H4 visas. They're not going to give it to her. H4 visa is an H4 visa. She has it. They don't need to file an I-539.
Okay. All right. So, okay, after Kuldeep, thank you so much again for your question. And let's take, I think we were supposed to take Trisha's question, right? Or did we already take it? Can my spouse and children accompany? I think we already took this. Shino's question. Yes, we were taking Shino's question. Shino says, I'm curious about your thoughts on the educational backgrounds that tend to secure H-1B visas. Have you noticed any particular fields of study that stand out in the current visa application trends?
Oh, this is interesting. The issue is that there are a lot of hybrid fields that come up now, um, and they should qualify for H1B. But the occupation codes that we have that generally do not reflect those hybrid fields that have come up now, like machine learning, AI, and there could be cross, sections of technology and healthcare or different, right? And data analysis. There are so many new hybrid fields. They're like which are in the intersection of maybe operations and tech, or healthcare and tech, or finance and tech. So it's interesting to see, but generally, if you have a STEM related degree, it's much easier because they squarely falls into the occupation codes, which clearly requires a bachelor's degree to enter into that occupation. But again, there are non so traditional fields as well, and I have done so many of them. But it all depends whether you can tie it up to a particular occupation and show that a bachelor's degree is required for this particular occupation. But as long as it's done, you should have good chances of getting it approved. But
Great. So that's a
STEM
yeah.
degrees are the most popular degrees that get an H-1B visa.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mhm.
So I think there are high chances then, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. So Shino, thank you so much again for your question. Let us know if you have a follow up or if you would like to know anything else from Sonal. Meanwhile, let's quickly take Bhaskar's question. And Bhaskar has posted this on LinkedIn and he says, my son is about to complete UG from IL University in 2025. He is 21. Is he eligible for H1 or should be completing MS for applying H1? He has done all his schooling in the US. What do you have to say, Sonal?
No, he qualifies based on his undergrad also. The bachelor's degree is good enough for you to apply for a H-1B visa. If he has an employer who will be, well, if he's graduating from a STEM field, then he will have an OPT first and then a STEM OPT. So he has 3 years of work authorization right after the school. And then, I think he's on H4, he said right now, right? So OPT
Right.
and F might not. So depending on what visa he's in, if he's on H4, then he needs to move to F1 so that he can use the OPT and then STEM OPT and then go for H1. If he's on H4, then yes, straight away if he wants to apply for H1, yes, um, based on his bachelor's degree, then he can. But again, depending on what the degree is, what the job is going to be, whether you can show that he qualifies for the job. But bachelor's degree from US is good enough. That's the basic requirement for a specialty occupation position.
Okay, and I was hearing this news. Actually, I was watching this news where Trump was there and he was saying, after because people were questioning him about immigration stuff. So he was saying, after a student graduates from a US university, if he comes into power, so what he's going to do is he's going to give them green cards so that, rather than working for some other country, if they are graduated from the US itself, then you already have a green card after you get graduated, and then automatically you'll be giving into US's economy, right? So what do you think about that? What do you have to say?
Well, it would be great if that happens. There is a big if there, but if that
Uh-huh.
happens, then why not? Like all these people who come here spend so much money, they graduate a
So
STEM
sometimes,
field. There
they
is a
also want to,
shortage.
maybe because they want to complete their education there, and maybe they want to come back and work.
That percentage is very low.
Very, very low,
If
right?
so, very low. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So maybe let's see what happens, who comes to power.
Mm.
Um, Meanwhile, let's take Bhaskar's question. So Bhaskar is again back, and he says he's on H4. He is taking cybersecurity course. He's on H4. Yes, but after 21, he cannot be on H4, right? And then
So
he
he
says,
needs to move to F1. Either he needs to move to F1 right now before he graduates so that he can use OPT and STEM OPT, which will give him 3 years of work authorization. If he does not move to F1 right away, then he doesn't have a choice but to apply for H1 directly. That's not going to be the probability of he getting picked up in the first trial low. But if I am suggesting he should move to F1 right away so that he is eligible for 3 years of work authorization if he is graduating into a STEM field.
okay, all right. So thank you so much, Bhaskar, for your question. Let us know if you have any more questions that you would like to know the answers of. And Millionite Square is here, and he also has a question. He has posted it on LinkedIn, and he says, "Hey, I have a question. One of the candidate who is done in free online master degree from World Quant. Okay, what's the question? I think it here. Uh, Hey, I have a question. One of the candidate who is done in free online master degree from World Quant. Unfortunately, we applied in the H-1B lottery in master's cap. Can I do the I-129 petition for him in the master's cap? Will that free online degree be valid and accepted by USCIS?
So for master's step, I don't know what this university is and what this degree is. I have no idea about it. But basic requirements for somebody to qualify under the master's cap is that it has to be a US university, which is either nonprofit or if it is public university. If it is a for-profit university, then you do not qualify for a master's cap. You have to apply under the regular cap. Now, if they have, seems like this university will not qualify, first of all, it's an online and probably a for-profit university. If it is 100% online, I don't see it to be a public university or private university for non-profit, not for profit. So my guess, again, it's a guess, I don't know about this university, is that they will not qualify for master's cap. Now, if they have applied them under master's cap and they got picked up as well, when you will file the H-1B petition, USCIS is going to challenge that if they are not qualified and it will not get approved. So you need to first figure out whether you were right to register them under the master's cap. Now, if they have picked up in a bachelor's cap and they do have a bachelor's degree that qualify them, then even if you applied under the master's cap, there is a way they might qualify because they have a qualifying degree, bachelor's degree, and they were applied picked up under bachelor's cap. So this master's degree might not be relevant in that case, but still get an H-1B approved. But if they are picked up in master's and this master's does not qualify, then it will not get approved.
Okay, thank you so much, Sonal, for answering the question. And guys, if you're enjoying this content and if you're enjoying Sonal's answer, so make sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're watching it on LinkedIn, so make sure to hit that follow button on LinkedIn so that you never miss an update from the Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And we bring you the latest news, tips, and expert advice on immigration and job opportunities. Your subscription and your follow will help us continue to provide valuable content for you. So don't forget to like this and subscribe and follow to our channels. And thank you so much, Million Square, for your question. If you have another one, please let us know. And I hope you have got the answer. But still, we are here. So keep posting and keep commenting your questions. And meanwhile, let's take Nehal Gupta. Okay, Nehal is again back, and she says, "Thank you for the earlier answers. Can I move from F1 CPT to H4 EAD once my spouse's I-140 is approved? When should I do this so as to continue my studies and working full time, since I won't be able to work on H4 till the EAD is processed?" What do you have to say?
The answer is yes, you 100% can move from F1 to H4 EAD once he has it. Generally, it works like, see, the change of status is not going to be affected until it is approved. So if you're filing from F1 to H4, uh, I would do it in a way where you're filing the H4 and H4 EAD together, which means when the H4 gets approved, H4 EAD also gets approved at the same time, so that there will be no gap. You are working until on CPT until your H4 gets approved, and because H4 is approving, they're going to approve the H4 EAD simultaneously as well. So there will be no gap per se if you're doing it that way. The other way is you time it when your spouse's H1 extension petition is pending and then it's due for extension. And at that point, you can file the H1 plus H4 change of status along with H4 EAD together in premium processing, and it will all come together along with his H1B. If that's possible, that would be the best way. If that's not possible, then at least file the H4 change of status and H4 EAD together so that when the H4 approval comes in, you immediately also have the H4 EAD, and then there will be no gap in your work authorization.
Okay, okay, great. So, Nehal, I hope you have got the answer. Thank you so much for asking the questions, and let us know if you have another one. And meanwhile, let's take Pavan Kumar's question. So, Pavan Kumar is also here, and he wants to ask about. He says, "Thank you so much for addressing this webinar. I am in the US on H-1B visa. I spent 30 months and remaining 42 months as per current backlog. Do you think my I-140 process is complete? And should I apply again for next H-1B 2025 draw?" What do you have to say, Sonal?
So 42 months, depending on where it's possible, um, depending on where you are currently in your green card process. If it has not started yet, you still have good amount of time to get it done because the prevailing wage is taking about 6 months at this point. And once prevailing wage is done, then you have to factor in the recruitment period, which is another 2 months if everybody is efficient. And then you're filing the perm, which is another 12 to 13 months. And then I-140, which I-140 you can do in premium processing. So that's not going to take that long. So altogether, it is about 2 years process right now to get to I-140 stage. And you have 42 months, which is a lot more time than that. So if you start your green card process right now, you very well be able to get your I-140. Now, if that for that some reason that does not happen, you cannot get into a draw right after completing your 6 years. If you complete your 6 years, you have to leave US, stay outside for at least 1 year before you are eligible for another H-1B. So you cannot just stay here and right away start applying in your 6th year and get picked up and get another 6 years. So either you have to have an I-140 approved to get further extensions on H-1B. Otherwise, you will have to leave US. You cannot change status in the US and just say if your spouse is on H-1, you move to H-4, stay here for a year and then go back to H-1. That's also not allowed. You have to physically leave US for 1 year before you can come back on a new H-1B again. So plan accordingly.
Okay, so Pawan, thank you so much for your question. And that's a great answer from Sonal. So make sure to follow that and plan accordingly, as she said. And again, if you have follow up that you would like to ask, please keep commenting. And meanwhile, let's quickly take. Okay, before we take the questions, I would like to tell our lovely audiences the show. Your questions are great. The answers from Sonal are also really, really good and really, really great. And if you want to get in touch with Sonal, so you can give her a call at +1 646 360 5955. I would like to repeat the number +1 646 360 5955. You can also email her at sonal@sharmalawAssociates.com. And you can also visit her website, which is www.sharmalawAssociates.com. And if you're looking for a project placement or visa sponsorship, you can reach out to me on my number, which is +1 732 707 9151. My email is rajni@higherITpeople.com. You can also visit our website, which is www.higherITpeople.com. Remember, we sponsor H-1B visas and other work visas based on job availability and regulations. And now I would actually like to take, okay, where did I missed the question. There was Akash's question, I think. Yeah, Akash. So Akash is here and he says, "Hi, I am currently on F1 OPT and my EAD expires on September 1st, 2024. I also got picked up for H-1B lottery and my company has filed my application. The H-1B start date is October 1st, as far as I know. Would you recommend to go ahead and apply for STEM OPT or go ahead with CAP gap extension?" Now, before you answer the question, Sonal, we would like to go for a short break. I've read the question of Akash, and I would like to ask him. I would like to ask him to wait for a bit. Let's quickly go for a short break, and after we come from the break, maybe then you can, give us a great answer and
Sure.
also help Akash with a great answer. Actually, all right, guys. We are discussing today about H-1B and H-1B cap. So it's time to go for a short break, but you don't go anywhere. Keep on watching Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. We'll be back shortly.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 732-707-9151 or mail us at rajni@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Rajni Bharara, and today I have with me none other than immigration attorney Sonal Sharma. And today we are talking about, it's an Ask Me Anything session. So we are talking about H-1B and H-1B cap insights with our lovely attorney. So now, again, I would like to welcome her back to the show after the break. Welcome back, Sonal.
Thank you.
So before we went on the break, I took Akash's question, Akash Kaushik, and his question was, "Hi, I am currently on an F1 OPT and my EAD expires on September 1st, 2024. I also got picked up for H-1B lottery and my company has filed my application. The H-1B start date is October 1st, as far as I know. Would you recommend to go ahead and apply for STEM OPT or uh, go ahead with cap gap extension?" So
Well,
what
it
do you have to say?
depends how the H-1B is filed. If it is filed as a change of status application, then either will work. He can apply for a STEM OPT extension and it gives him an automatic work authorization for the next 6 months, which will cover until the October 1 or until the the H-1B petition gets approved. If it is filed as a counselor processing, that he needs to apply for H1 STEM extension because he will not have automatically H-1B change of status approved because it's being applied as a counselor processing. But just because the H-1B is filed does not mean that it is going to be approved by October 1. So with cap, in this situation, either could work. The only issue with cap is that it only gives him work authorization until September 30th. So for another 29 days, he's going to get his work authorization. That is because he is assuming that as of October 1st, his application is going to get approved. But if it does not get approved and he is on cap, he cannot work post 9/30 and will have to wait for the H-1B to get approved. Contrary to that, if he applies for STEM extension, then he will get 6 months. So if the H-1B it doesn't get approved by October 1, rather get approved in, say, January of next year, he will be able to work for those 3 months based on his STEM OPT application extension that he has filed on the receipt notice. So I would rather go with STEM OPT extension, because unless you have filed the petition in premium processing and you already have an approval by 9/30, then yes, you could go with cap, but also it depends on whether you're applying as counselor processing or change of status. If it is counselor processing, the answer is completely changed, because then you 100% need STEM OPT because you will use it for the next 2 years before you move on to H-1B.
Right. Okay, so Akash, I hope. Okay, he's actually back. He says it is filed as change of status.
Yeah, then, it will get approved as change of status whenever it will get approved. So if it is not filed in premium processing, there are chances that it might not get approved by September 30th. If you're okay just waiting for it to get approved, cap will end on 9/30, so you will have to just sit and wait. You can't work. If you want to continue working beyond September 30th, then the only way is to file STEM extension.
Okay. All right. So Akash is again back. He says, perfect. Thank you so much for the answer. All right. So thank you so much, Akash, for your comment, and thank you so much for your questions. Um, and again, thank you so much, Sonal, for those great answers. And Nehal is also back with a thank you. And she says, thank you so much. This is really helpful. Thank you so much again, Nehal, to you too. And let's take Okay, let me take Bhaskar's thank you also. So Bhaskar is also back with a thank you, and he says thanks for answering. So getting a lot of thank you now. Let's now after the thank yous, let's quickly take a question also. So Jasmeet is here, and Jasmeet says, due to cost cuttings, my employer is filing my H-1B as a part-time employee, 20 hours. I'm currently on OPT. Question number one, would there be any issues to get the approval? And question number two, would I be able to transfer my H1 without any issues if I get a full time offer elsewhere? What do you have to say, Sonal?
Okay, so no, there should not be any issues just because it's a part-time position. And yes, you will be able to transfer to full-time position whenever you get it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Jasmeet, for your question. And let's quickly take, because we are getting a lot of question and we don't have much time, so I'm trying to take all the questions. So thank you so much again, Jasmeet, for your question. Let's take Veera's question in the meanwhile. And Veera says, can I transition from a cap exempt employer to a cap subject employer, and if so, how does that process work?
If you 100% want to move to cap subject employer, you have to go through the H-1B cap lottery. You cannot work for a cap subject employer without H-1B lottery if you're not concurrently also working for a cap exempt employer. But if you want to work with a cap subject employer while you're working with a cap exempt employer, then you do not have to go through lottery. You can do a concurrent employment with a cap subject employer as long as you also maintain your employment with cap exempt employer. Once you leave your cap exempt employer, you will have to go through the cap lottery to work exclusively with a cap subject employer.
Okay, all right. So, Veera, I hope you have got the answer. Thank you so much again for your question. And actually, Bhaskar is back and he says, if I apply for F1 for my son, as he's already getting graduated from a university, undergraduate, does he need to get again I-20 from another university? I'm a little bit confused how it works.
Well, I don't know what he was doing until now. Did he even reach out to an immigration attorney to figure out the next steps? You are late, Bhaskar. You should have done this earlier. But even now, that might be possible. But again, you have to just consult an immigration attorney and they will help you out with the process. But for him to be eligible for OPT, he needs to be on F1. So that has to be done rather quickly. But there is premium processing now for changing status to from any other status to F1. So you might want to look into it and get on it really quickly so that he can be eligible for OPT and STEM OPT.
Okay, all right. So Bhaskar, you can also directly get in touch with Sonal herself. You can give her a call at +1 646 360 5955. You can also email her at sonal@sharmalawAssociates.com. You can also visit her website www.sharmalawAssociates.com. And yes, Bhaskar, hurry and get in touch with an immigration attorney and maybe just get in touch with Sonal. And okay, Pawan is actually back, and Pawan says, "Thank you, Sonal and Rajni, for addressing question. Due to budget constraint with end client, my H-1B employer insisted to go back to India and come back again. Can my employer or immigration team start I-140 process even if I am in India, or H-1B candidate should be present in the US? In between of the process, can I come back from India to USA as I do have US domestic visa stamp on my passport?" What do you have to say?
Well, okay, these are two different questions. One, the I-140 process, you don't have to be in the US. It can be done when you're outside of the US as well. So green card and I-140 process is for a future position. You don't have to be employed in that position at the time the petition is being filed. So if you are outside of US, the process can still go ahead, and that's not an issue. The second question, I don't understand which visa. If he's talking about B1, B2, of course, you can come and visit US if you want to be a tourist here. If he's talking about an H-1B visa, he can only come if he has the H-1B job for
Right.
him to come work. He cannot enter on an H-1B visa as a tourist. That's not going to happen. So depending on what kind of visa he has and what is he planning to come for, he might be able to use it and come.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Pawan, again for your question. And if you have another follow-up, please let us know. Please keep commenting and keep posting. And Bhaskar is back and he says, "I will connect with you." Thanks. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Okay, so let's quickly take Ashwarya's question also. Okay. Within the complex framework of US immigration law, what role do specialized visa categories like EB1, EB2, and EB3 play in determining my eligibility and priority for a green card as an H-1B visa holder?
I do not know what she means by this question. Well, these are different categories,
Right.
EB1, EB2, EB3, depending on whether you qualify for all of them, or two of them, or one of them. It is
Mm-hmm.
possible to start your green card process under that category. Now, whichever category the priority date is, if in the EB1 context, when you file your I-140, because there is no PERM process. For EB2 and EB3, for NIW, the priority date is when you file the I-140, because again, there is no PERM process. For EB2 PERM process, the priority date is when you file your PERM, and EB3 PERM process, the priority date is when you file your PERM. So depending on which category you are, the priority date is set based on that. And if you're in EB1 category, you will probably get the green card faster than EB2 or EB3. So it's not about what these specialized categories play a role. It is about whether you qualify for these categories and which one, and whether you're filing under that category or not. And if you do, then you will get the green card based on the priority date under that classification.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ashwarya, for your question. I hope you've got the answer. And I'm also getting questions here on my WhatsApp. I think but somehow I'm not sure why are we not able to show them here. Maybe because of some technical issue or something. But I would like to read the question. The question is actually from Sarat Teja, and Sarat says, "I am in India, and I have MBA 2024 completion. It's done online. So, am I eligible for O1? And how can Sharma Law Associates help us and the cost I think he wants to know with the cost involved."
Please send an email and we'll discuss. This is not a question that I can answer here without
On
knowing
a live
anything
show,
about
right?
this person. Yeah, I have
Right.
no information.
Okay, but let's take this question from him. So he says, "I have MBA 2024 completion. It's done online. So am I eligible for O1?"
He could be. I don't know. There are 10 different criteria that somebody needs to meet. Out of those 10, you have to meet at least three. If you have that profile, it's a rather extensive assessment. Just because you have an MBA degree does not qualify you for O1. There are different criteria that you need to follow. So reach out to some attorney who will be able to assess your whole profile and tell you whether you qualify for O1 or not.
Yeah, and since Sarath is already interested in knowing about, how can Sharma Law Associates help in with the cost involved, so maybe you can directly get in touch with Sonal and ask these questions. She'll be able to help you. You can write to her, call her, visit her website, Sarath. And thank you so much for your question, Bud. And let's quickly take Jaslene's question also. So Jasleen says, "My spouse was on H-4 visa. We applied for change of status within USA from H-4 to F-1 student, and then he started his studies. After completing his first semester, he went to India to get F-1 visa stamp, and but unfortunately, it was rejected, stating 214B. Question number one: Can he re-enter USA on H-4 visa? The stamp is still valid?"
Yeah, he can. If the stamp is valid, if they have not cancelled the H4 visa, it is still valid and he can come back on H4.
Okay, so congratulations, Jasleen. He can. So thank you so much for your question. Let's take Niharika's question. I'm not sure if we already took this, but let me just read it out again. So Niharika says, "I'm currently in the US on an L1B visa working as an IT consultant, and the employer wants to sponsor for an H1B visa. However, I have a pending I-140 petition under the EB2 category from a previous employer. How do we navigate this situation to ensure a successful H-1B visa application? And what are the potential risks and implications of this pending petition that we need to consider?"
There are no risks and implications. I1, so green card process is a separate process. It's an immigrant petition for a future position. You are currently in a non-immigrant visa, which is L1B. L1B is only for 5 years, and for you to be able to take advantage of that I-140 that the company has started for you,
Mhm.
you need some immigrant visa which will allow you to stay here beyond 5 years, and that's why you have to move to H1B, because even if you have an I-140 approved, you do not get extensions on L1B beyond 5 years. You have to be on H1B to get extensions beyond 6 years based on the I-140. So that's why
Right.
they have to file an H1B for you. They have to go through the lottery process. Once you are picked up, they will file the H1B for you. And that way, by that time, if you have the I-140 approved, you might be able to get extensions based on that. But you will have to change your status from L1B to H1B.
Okay. All right. So, Niharika, I hope you have noted what Sonal has said. So, thank you so much for your question, and keep watching and keep on subscribing to our channel. And thank you again for the question. So we are getting a lot of questions. Actually, let me quickly take Zohan's question also. So Zohan says, in your experience, how have regulatory shifts and economic changes influenced the process of securing H-1B visas for professionals in the healthcare industry compared to those in the tech sector?
Well, healthcare industry is a very big term. Like, there are, depending on what kind of occupation we are talking about in healthcare
Right.
industry, if it is a doctor, there is a specific program for them. If it is physical therapist, there is a special category from them, Schedule A. They do not go through, the perm process. It's much more difficult for nurses because most of the states in US do not require a bachelor's degree for you to be a nurse, unless it is like a specific nurse position, which is, either emergency room or trauma response or whatever, where they might require a bachelor's degree. And in those cases, those nurses might be eligible for H-1B. But
Right.
other than that, they are not eligible for H-1B. General nurse is not eligible. So it depends on what role you're talking about.
Mhm.
See, H-1B is a program which has 85,000 visas every year.
Yeah.
Any occupation could qualify under that, and you have to apply for it. Just so happens that most of the H-1B petitions are filed for tech workers because that's where the shortage is. Shortage there is in healthcare industry as well, and there is really a need for a streamlined visa category for healthcare workers because one, there is shortage, and then second, they should not be waiting when they are on of providing during COVID period. Those were the people who were on front line. I think there should be a special category which qualifies them, like a work visa situation. But again, healthcare industry is a big word, depending, because you could be a tech worker in healthcare industry as well.
Right.
You could be working for a research institution in healthcare as a data analyst. So you could
Yeah.
still be healthcare industry, but in a tech role. So it depends on what role you are in. But yes, there is no specific streamlined healthcare visa, which would be great if it would be there. I don't know if
Okay.
that answered the question, but
Right, right, absolutely. It depends upon the role. Absolutely, as you rightly said. So thank you so much, Sonal, for taking that up and for answering the question. And thank you so much, Zohan, for your question. It was a bit different, but still, thank you for posting and commenting. And Sonal, by now you already must have heard the news about President Biden announcing legal status for 500,000 immigrants, right?
Mhm.
So, what's your take on that? Would you like to say something about that news?
Well, we'll have to see what the regulatory procedure is going to be. Right now, it is for people who have been in US, who entered without inspection, without admission, and
Yeah.
have been in US for more than 10 years and are married to a US citizen, or have stepchildren in the US who could sponsor them. So if we don't have the details yet how it's going to be implemented, but it looks like they're going to put a procedure in place where
Right.
these people who qualify will be able to get a parole in place, which
Yeah.
means they will get 3 years work authorization as well. And then during those 3 years, when they are in parole in place, authorized stay, they will be able to get their spouse or their kids to file green card application for them, and they'll be able to adjust in the US rather than going out and facing the 10-year bar. They might be able to do that. So we'll see how that goes once the procedure comes out. The other point in that is it suggests a non-immigrant work visa route for DACA recipients. Again, we don't know how they are planning to implement it, what kind of work visa. A new category does not seem the option here because that has to be created by Congress and not by executive order. So only the current available non-immigrant work visas might be available. Again, I'm not too excited about it because if it is H-1B, you already have way too many people applying for H-1B, and then
Yeah.
you're just adding more people to it. So I don't know how that gives them relief other than that they will have a non-immigrant status. DACA is not a status. So if they move to a work visa, that will give them a status which will allow them to then go file green cards through employment based or other ways where they will be able to adjust status. Right now, because they are not in a status, they can't adjust to green card. So we'll see when the further details come out how it
Will
it,
come out,
it is
absolutely.
put in
But but
place.
still, before I take this next question, okay, this is something I don't know if we should get into this, but still, because you have given your answer, so I would like to ask you about this also. So actually, people are saying, some people are saying that it is actually to help the immigrants, but then there are those people also who are saying it is a political move. So, as an immigration attorney, what do you think?
Well, immigration is political issue in this country. It
Well,
is. People vote based on immigration issues. So
right.
it is a political issue. Well, in the
So
end,
basically, it's
as
a
an
mix of both.
immigration attorneys, well, in the end, as an immigration attorney,
So that
we
they can help
just
the the immigrants, so that they can help the immigrants, but can also gain some political advantage,
well, it's not my
right?
place to comment on that because I am not here for political reviews.
Neither,
As
absolutely.
immigration attorneys, we only see what options are there for our clients and how we can help them. And
Yeah,
if this action provides relief to people who are eligible, then as immigration attorneys, we are there to help them. Now, whether it is political or non-political, that's a separate debate, and this is not a forum for it.
yeah,
But yeah, if there is a availability, like option available for people to
yeah.
avail, and it is done in a legal manner, then sure, it should be available, and we'll be able to help our clients.
All right. Thank you so much for answering the question, Sonal. Even, I mean, it was a bit political and a bit controversial, but still, thank you so much for, answering the question. We only have 3 minutes to go, so let's quickly take few more questions. So, okay, there are still a lot of questions pending. So, Aman is also here, and Aman says, I'm currently on an F-1 visa and have an approved I-140 petition from my previous employer, but I want to switch to an H-1B visa and work for a new employer. Can I use H-1B cap exemption for advanced degree holders? And what steps would I need to take to ensure a smooth transition and maintain my status in the US? What do you have to say?
So, H-1B cap exemption for advanced degree holders. I don't know what he means. He has to go through the H-1B cap. If he
Mhm.
has a master's degree from US, they will be able to qualify and apply under the master's cap exemption, which gives them additional 20,000 visas to be counted against. And then if they are not picked up in that, they also are run through the regular cap.
Mhm.
But yes, the I-140 has nothing to do at this stage. He needs an H-1B visa if he's on H-1 F-1 currently, unless he's from a country, Amal Paul, I'm thinking Indian. But if he's from a country which is not India and does not have a backlog, then while he's on OPT or STEM OPT, he might be able to just adjust based on that I-140. So it's very fact specific, but the transition from F1 to H1B cap subject is only through going through the lottery process. And if you get picked up, the employer can file, and whenever your dates are current, you'll be able to adjust status on that I-140.
Okay, all right.
If you can go back to the earlier employer.
Mhm.
If not, then the new employer will have to start the green card process all over again, but you will be able to retain the priority date.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much again, Aman, for your question. And one last question before I let you go, Sonal. So Fawad is also here, and he says, I received an H-1B visa and entered the USA. Now, if my employer terminates my employment, what are my options? Can I use the 60-day grace period to find a new employer and transfer my H-1B visa, or would I need to leave the country and reapply?
No, of course, you can. So it's not depends on what your I-94 expiry date is. It is either I-94 expiry date or 60 days, whichever is less. So it is not 60 days in every scenario that has to be
Mhm.
clarified here. So say if your H-1B validity is ending on September 30th and you get laid off on September 1st, you don't get 60 days, you only get 30 days because your I-94 is ending in 30 days. So whichever that
Right.
timeline is, either whatever time, I-94 time or 60-day grace period, yes, that is what grace period is for you to be able to find new job or apply for a new job. But if you're not able to, then there might be an option to apply for a B2 visa
Mhm.
while you can stay here and bind up your affairs before you can go back and transition to that visa for a few months to, take care of everything that you have to take care and then might leave. But yeah, eventually, if you're not able to find a job, you will have to leave US unless you can change status to another, like if your spouse is on H1, you can go on H4, or if you
Mhm.
can transfer to O1, or you can go back to school on F1. All those options are also there. But if you
Mhm.
do not want to do any of that, then after a certain period, whether it is 30 days, 60 days, or if you're on B2, whenever that status ends, you will have to leave.
Okay. All right. So, Fawad, I hope you have got the answer. Thank you so much for your question. And, guys, that brings us to the end of today's live session. And thank you so much again, Sonal, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise on navigating, the H-1B and H-1B cap process and everything related to H-1B, basically. So, thank you so much for a great, great
Sure.
session.
Happy to be here. I hope it was helpful.
I'm sure it was. It was, and because as you already saw, right? We got a lot of thank yous from the people, and I'm receiving it. So it was a great episode. So guys, if you want to get in touch with Sonal Sharma, here are our contact details. You can give her a call at +1 646 360 5955. Her email is sonal@sharmalawAssociates.com, and her website is www.sharmalawAssociates.com. So you can give her a call, write an email to her, or you can visit our website to get in touch with her. And if you're looking for a project placement, so you can reach out to me on my number, which is +1 732 707 9151. My email is rajni@highrightypeople.com, and our website is www.highrightypeople.com. Remember, we sponsor H-1B visas and other work visas based on job availability and regulations. And like I said, that's the wrap for today's show. Thank you so much, Sonal, and we'll be looking forward to next week for another
Sure.
exciting episode. I'll discuss the topic with you. So
Sure.
let's see what topic
All right.
we would like to cover.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
And to our lovely audiences, I would like to say that I hope you are enjoying this content, and if you are, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing to us, you'll never miss an update from the Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. We bring you the latest news, tips, expert advice on immigration and job opportunities, and your subscription helps us to continue to provide valuable content for you. If you are on YouTube, do subscribe to us. If you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, do follow us. And buy a subscription, like I said, buy a subscription and your follow. It helps us to continue to provide you with valuable content. So don't forget to like and share this video with your friends and family. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Our experts will reply for free. Thank you for watching and for supporting our channel. I'm your host, Rajni Bharara. I'll see you soon. Till the time, you guys keep watching and keep subscribing to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Bye for now.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 732-707-9151 or mail us at rajni@highrightypeople.com or visit our website www.highrightypeople.com.